very well save your life.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. Hopefully you can hear me just fine. Been having some audio issues lately. Hopefully I do have them all worked out. Either way, today what you can expect from the live stream, we can follow up on yesterday's live stream, and we can open up a discussion on the Delphi murders, Abby and Libby's case. We'll touch on all the top true crime right now, any breaking news, any updates, and we'll also include some political news as well. Those are some of the things I was going to be diving in today, and decided I'm going to take you along for the ride. First place we're going to go is a story out of San Francisco. I mean, there's a lot of crazy shit going on in the world right now. And I really don't have any answers for a solution. And I can't help but think, if it could happen to these people, right? Look at this. It's a beautiful home. It takes a lot to acquire something like that. You have to live somewhat of a normal life. You're not selling meth. You're not hanging out in the front yard there, lingering, firing your weapon at rival gang members, right? You're living a productive life. So how does a tragedy like this strike? And the reason that we can't see it coming is because it could happen to any one of us at any time, any moment in time. True crime can strike. Because you can't see the compartmentalized killer in front of you. You can't see the person who's trying to deal with psychosis. Everybody's trying to hide all of their problems, and there's nobody to talk to, nobody to turn to. Can't trust your doctors. You can't trust your psychologists, your psychiatrists. There's really nobody to turn to because they don't have any programs in place to really help you. It's more to kind of tuck you away in a corner where, they physically compartmentalize you out of society. It's not a real fix. What's up, Melissa? Welcome on in. Jill Moser. GP. It's going pretty good. Everything is good. The little one had his first month checkup. Everything is absolutely perfect. Jari, what's up? How's everybody doing? Welcome in. Vix Rocks. Good to see you. What, this one? I think that's like Dan Rather or somebody, and I just put my head on him. Whenever I feel like talking about news, that's the avatar I select. I don't know who that is. Dan Rather, one of them famous news anchors. Tim Brokaw. See, 4 found dead, including 2 children, inside San Francisco home as police investigate their suspicious deaths. Neighbors said they heard nothing, and those who lived inside the home were a very normal family with a normal family routine. This is why true crime is so scary to me. Because the more I look into these cases, it's like, how the hell did this happen? These people seem normal. How did this guy just flip out? How did this mother just kill her own kids? Everything seemed so normal, so routine. What's up, Harry? Hi, all. Did we ever find out if Rick went into a mental hospital shortly after the murders? I don't know if we've gotten a straightforward answer on that yet. We know that he was hospitalized before the murders and potentially in 2019 as well. So 2015, 16, around there, he was hospitalized. I believe that had to do with his drinking. And then maybe the 2019 ish incident was where he had the gun in his mouth. And remember, during his interview, he went out of his way to say it wasn't part of some pattern, right? Like, I didn't kill these girls, and then all of a sudden, I changed and became depressed. He's saying, well, he's been dealing with his mental health for some time, but he's never put a gun in his mouth, right? That's what I would have asked him. So, is that the first time you did that? Is that the first time you threatened to take your own life? Or have you done it before? Because that's the difference, right? Yeah, you might have been struggling with mental health, depression, anxiety, but have you ever tried, was there any self harm involved? Then you committed the murder. And now you want to introduce self harm to your regiment? Says it's at 930 Monterey Boulevard in San Francisco. I mean, that is a beautiful house. You got like this brickwork on the frame there in the walkway. The house is super cute. Super cute, as my wife likes to say. Four people were found dead inside a home in San Francisco on Wednesday, October 8th, authorities said. Two of those found dead were children, police told a local media outlet. Police are investigating the suspicious deaths, with the investigation being led by the San Francisco Police Department's homicide detail. But did you die, though? What's that? What is that from? What movie? The Hangover, right? But did you die? Four people have been found dead inside a home in San Francisco. They discovered the individuals following a welfare check. They added that the deaths are being treated as suspicious, and the police department's homicide detail is leading the investigation. On the 8th, at approximately 1:23 p.m., San Francisco police officers responded to the 900 block of Monterey Boulevard regarding a well-being check. Officers arrived and located four unresponsive individuals who were declared on the scene. They added San Francisco office of the chief medical examiner is conducting a parallel investigation and will determine the cause and manner of death. Yeah, right. Before they go behind the scenes and talk to everybody and determine what the truth should be, not what the truth is, right? This appears to be an isolated incident, and there is no general threat to the public. Okay, so what's the manner of death? People has contacted the San Francisco Police Department for comment. While police have not revealed the identities of the individuals, they told local media outlet ABC7 that two of those found deceased were children. Neighbors also said they believe the family who lived in the home were a mother, father, and two girls. Oh, this sounds like it may be a murder-suicide. Usually when they think that, that's why they're so vague about everything. Because they want to make sure they want to test everything. They want to do the victimology first, right? And what is the victimology? It's everything they can find out about the victims, who they knew, who they hung around with, who might have targeted them, why they might want to hurt themselves, right? They just gather all the information they can from relatives, neighbors, coworkers, friends, classmates, pen pals, anybody that might give the investigators an idea of who these people were. Then they start to create an image of what might have happened to them and might point to a suspect, and then they can get into the criminology of it all. But the vagueness of it makes me think that it's, it might be a murder suicide. Typically, I believe that would be the husband, perhaps. But then again, it could be an accident, accidental poisoning, carbon monoxide, something like that. Footage captured outside the property showed it being taped off and surrounded by police officers. I don't have the words right now. I'm in a bit of shock. We are in shock. It's a tragedy, and we're thinking about the family. We are processing the information right now. That's from the neighbor, Belinda Hanart. That's what she told ABC 7 News. Our bedroom is on their side, and we have 2 dogs. So there was no noise, nothing. And I think it was the most disturbing part. We didn't hear anything, nothing, she continued. We knew it was a family of 4 with 2 girls. The older one was probably 12 to 13 years old, and a dog. And it was a very normal family, with a normal family routine. Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, it's crazy people could support her. That's insane. What's up? All right. She added, we heard them more than we saw them, and it was just a normal family life, like kids in the garden trying to get the dog inside and having barbecue for summer nights. That's it, just like us. Yeah, sounds like my family. This is why true crime is so scary, you guys. This is what terrifies me. It's what keeps me up at night. If it can happen to them, it can happen to us. Right? We're so busy on the outside looking through the glass, we forget that that's where the true crime. It's out there with you. The only time you're looking through the glass is when it's already hit somebody else, right? But the actual true crime waiting to happen is on that side of the glass. When you're looking through the glass, that's just showing you the aftermath. I think we forget that, right? We're looking through the glass and we're looking at this horrible story. And we're not looking at the killer next to us, right? What's that, 21? What is it, 21 Savages? Can't remember the name. Heathens, right? Never know the killer sitting right next to you. How could this happen? How could this happen to us? Because you weren't paying attention. You weren't reading between the lines, right? You're not paying attention to the mental health issues that are in your own household. And when I say that, I'm talking about me too. This could happen to anybody, right? Normal, very normal family with the normal family routine. How can this be possible? Let's continue on here. Nearby resident Sean Hall also told NBC Bay Area that he thought the family had moved out last year. Added he hadn't seen their car for a long time. I don't know if they were still living in it somehow or if it's other people, but either way, it's very sad to hear about, he said. See, this is showing me signs of mental health, right? Why did they all believe that they had moved out? Well, maybe the father lost his job. The repo man was looking for the cars. They were hiding the cars and they were just buying the time. The bills stacking up. Can't go to work because when you're suffering from mental health, you feel contagious and you can't work. You just want to run away. or maybe even spare your family from whatever paranoia that you have. Might even think you're doing them a favor. I saved them, and now I'm going to save myself. I'm going to save all of us. What's up, Eli? Never know the murderer sitting next to you. What's up, Peggy? Authorities were also asked if the suspect could have been one of the deceased individuals, to which Officer Robert Rueka replied, "That is a possibility." See, that's what it sounds like, right? They didn't hear anything. There was no screaming. I'm sure they had door, ring cameras, whatever. They didn't report finding anything there. And the fact that they thought they moved out, I think that's a sign of issues, right? Because my neighbors, they see us coming and going. I see them coming and going. Um, all my neighbors, most of them go to church. So on a Sunday, I can just catch them all just kind of coming and going. Me and my wife will be getting breakfast, going for a morning walk. So all of a sudden, if you stop seeing that, you're going to assume, hey, I guess they moved out. I haven't seen them in months. But that could be a sign of a mental health issue. Paranoia, lost job, I don't know, keeping the kids from school, keeping them locked up. And then eventually, it turns to a mass suicide type situation. Yeah, that's very tragic. But I think they're going to point at the father. Something happened there, and he took his entire family out. Another mental health situation that went ignored. Another mental health situation that went ignored. Another mental health situation. The hell?
Drive Time makes it easy to buy a car.
Yeah, already approved. That was easy.
Yep, and you can even customize your own terms on every car.
Oh, there's a little slider thing. I can already approved. That was easy.
Yep, and you can even customize
Sorry
your
about
own
that.
terms on every car.
Oh, there's a little slider thing. I can already approved. That was easy.
What's up, Dark Side? Sound like they were there a while. Enough for the neighbors to get a good idea and a good, to get a vibe on that. What's up, Melissa? All right. Here's another one. This is from The Guardian. See if I can zoom in on it. Out of Texas. You cannot undo a wrongful execution. Push to halt killing of Texas man in shaken baby case. So he killed his child by shaking them, and they gave him the death penalty. Lawyers scramble as Robert Robertson to be the first person executed under theory now widely seen as junk science. He looks like a Buscemi there. Steve Buscemi. He's got Steve Buscemi eyes. At 6 p.m. next Thursday, barring a last-minute reprieve, Robert Robertson will become the first person in America to be executed under the theory of shaken baby syndrome, a medical diagnosis from the 1970s that is so disputed it is now widely denounced as junk science. Robertson, 58, will enter the death chamber at the Huntsville unit in Texas, where he will be trapped to a gurney and injected with a cocktail of lethal drugs. He will be put to death, having been convicted of shaking to death his 2-year-old daughter, Nikki Curtis, in 2002. That's disgusting. Hurts your heart when you read that kind of stuff. A coalition of advocates is calling for the execution to be called off, arguing Robertson is innocent of a crime that never even happened. They include several people exonerated from shaken baby syndrome convictions, more than 80 bipartisan Texas lawmakers. The lead detective in Robertson's original investigation and members of his trial jury. Robertson's lawyer, Gretchen Sween, told The Guardian that not only was her client's life in the balance, so too was justice. If Robert is executed next week, with all that is known about the profound due process problems on top of his actual innocence, then Texas would have no legitimate justice system. So it's like they're trying to hold the state of Texas hostage with their morals, right? You know, the what if he is innocent? Well, it really depends on the details of the crime. Did he confess? Like, yeah, I snapped and I just, shook my baby until it died. Or did they discover the baby deceased and through their investigation determined that it was a shaken baby situation, right? The details matter. A year ago, Robertson came within 2 hours of dying by lethal injection and was only saved by a frenzied late-night intervention by Texas legislators. In an interview with The Guardian from death row shortly before that execution date, he denied having shaken his daughter. I don't know what happened to her, he said. I wouldn't want to be on nobody, to lose a child, especially if you tried to do right and you loved her and tried to get to know her. Then to be accused. Now Sween and Robertson's legal team are scrambling yet again to prevent him becoming a statistic. As the first person on death row to be judicially killed on the back of disputed shaken baby syndrome, last week his defense team petitioned the U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals requesting a federal review of new evidence that points to an alternative explanation for Nikki's death. The petition includes expert testimony from 10 medical pathologists who questioned the findings of Nikki's 2002 autopsy. See, this is the part that bothers me about our system, right? They have a petition that includes expert testimony from 10 medical pathologists. But how many did they petition were, originally petitioned that refused? Right? Is that 10 out of 100? Is that 10 out of 1,000? Because the way our justice system is, you can bring me 10 experts that agree, and then I can also bring you 10 experts that disagree. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. It's Spin City is all it is. Are your experts more convincing than mine? Stay tuned, right? V, that's a super interesting case. I don't think he did kill the girl. I was skeptical too at first, but when you read it, it makes sense. I mean, I definitely am. I can't. It's hard to believe people. You have to let the facts kind of point you in the right direction. Like him, I wouldn't believe him right off the bat, only because I know psychopaths can commit a murder and then the self-preservation kicks in, the compartmentalization kicks in, the whole chameleon effect. They just slide the mask down and they can fool the world. So I'm not going to take his word for it. I want to hear the rest of the evidence against him. Because right now, yeah, even if he did it or didn't do it, right now it doesn't seem like they have enough from what we've read to put him, to kill him. Okay, Petition includes expert testimony from 10 medical pathologists. The experts conclude that the child's brain swelling was not caused by violent shaking, but was the result of serious infection. See, this is the important stuff right here. Nikki had undiagnosed pneumonia at the time she slumped into a coma. According to experts, exacerbated by improper prescription of dangerous medicines and a short fall from the bed in which she was sleeping. Okay, see, I have a problem with this because this is a play right out of Defense 101, right? This is the alternative suspect theory, right? This is their Odinism. It wasn't the father that shook the baby. It was these dangerous doctors prescribing medication all willy-nilly. That's who's really responsible, right? This straw man over here. So I don't like that. I don't like the fact that the defense isn't sticking to factual information, right? Sticking to the facts. They had me with the brain swelling. They should continue with that type of information. Like, prove to me that the child was not shaken. Don't try to create an alternative suspect for your client to create doubt. Create doubt with facts, if you can. Nikki had undiagnosed pneumonia at the time she slumped into a coma, according to the experts, exacerbated by improper prescription of dangerous medicines and a short fall from the bed in which she was sleeping. Oh, so they're saying there was a fall. Okay, so there's the trauma. They must have evidence of some kind of a trauma. The petition also highlights that a few years ago, Robertson was found to have autism, a condition which had gone undiagnosed at the time of his daughter's death. Right? Koberger, he had autism. His lawyers argue that this helps explain how flat and unemotional he appeared when he brought the dying girl into the hospital, a demeanor that was used against him at trial as evidence of guilt, right? There's that compartmentalization. Why isn't he acting like a normal human? Because he's not a normal human. He might be a psychopath, right? He doesn't have any empathy. The child wouldn't stop crying, wouldn't stop doing this for whatever, some absurd motivation. They commit these acts, right? Potentially, I don't know. But is what they're saying. So they're doing, it's like Defense 101. They're pulling it right out of the book. Okay, chapter 3. Why was he acting like a psychopath? Oh, he has autism. So you're saying all people who are autistic, they act like psychopaths? Like, what are you saying here? But everything that I'm seeing so far is just right out of the defense playbook. How do we create doubt when we know our client is guilty? That's the playbook right there. This is like chapter 3 or some shit. A separate petition has been pending for 8 months at the state's top criminal court. The Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, the 163-page document filed by Robertson's lawyer in February, argues that science behind shaken baby syndrome had been so undermined by new evidence that today no rational juror would find Robertson guilty of capital murder. See, it's right out of the playbook. That's what I don't like. Show me the medical reasons why he did not do this. Show me the proof. A decision from the court is expected any day. Last year, the same criminal appeals court overturned the 35-year sentence of Andrew Rourke, who had been found guilty of injuring his girlfriend's 13-month-old child in 1997. The judges found that key scientific, see, that's the word, right? Scientific testimony at Rourke's trial had been unreliable and concluded that if it were presented to a jury today, it would likely yield an acquittal. See, I don't even have to read the rest of the article. I'm going to, but I'm going to predict what it's going to say. So what's definitely happening from the pattern that I'm seeing is this apples against oranges, right? We've already got some signs that the child fell from the bed. So there's got to be some kind of hematoma or contusion or something like that, right? Which is more consistent with the shaking of the child. So I'm just going to go ahead and predict that we're going to see that here, and that's the apples to oranges that defense attorneys like to do, right? It's never apples to apples, because why would they do that? That helps the prosecution side and helps prove the guilt of their client. That's basically the business that they're in. They say, we're going to compare apples to oranges, and we're going to dress the orange up like an apple. The best that we can, anyway. There are glaring similarities between the Rourke case and Robertson's conviction. Both men became the subject of shaken baby syndrome, accusations on the back of a diagnosis from the same child abuse specialist, Janet Squires, delivered from the same hospital. The similarities between the cases are overwhelming, Swain said. The Attorney General of Texas, Ken Paxton, continues to stand by Robertson's death sentence, describing the efforts of the man's supporters as 11th hour, one-sided, extrajudicial stunts that attempt to obscure facts and rewrite his past. Yep, that's how it works typically. In an unusual move, Paxton secured next week's execution date while the prisoner's petition was still pending before the appeals court. Some of Nikki's other family members are also pressing for the execution to go ahead. They call it now abusive head trauma. Was developed in the early 1970s to diagnose children who became severely ill, died from internal brain injuries without necessarily showing outward signs of harm. One of its earliest proponents was the British pediatric neurosurgeon Norman Guthkelch. All right. So I don't know. That one's going to be tough. Even the prosecutor in the case has reversed his opinion and has said the regrets prosecuting him. Yes, you have to hear the whole story. Yeah, I would like to read the affidavit, court transcripts. The pathologist report. Sleuth, you did start this show talking about how people can't even trust their doctors anymore. Yeah, exactly. You can't trust your doctors. You know, you don't know why they're prescribing you medicine. You don't know what's motivating. They don't give a shit about you. Not all, but most, right? I am a Texan and been sitting on my hands. People go off feeling not facts. You describing how I felt, still listening. I am new here, Kate. Well, welcome. Consider subscribing to the channel. Because, I mean, did you die? What could it hurt? May I ask, have you heard about the cult in Oklahoma? The Oklahoma cult. No. Let's see. Cult in Oklahoma. The Oklahoma aroma. Which one is that? Is it the Elohim city? Elohim City. Not sure if that's one you're referring to. Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Sidebar. All right. Approach the bench. I heard a little town in Oklahoma, Kyoto FFA4 _H, broke in overnight, slaughtered 5 goats. What the fuck? Kyoto. Okay, I found a report. Let's see. This is on Facebook. Hold on, I got to log into Facebook real quick. Yeah, that's interesting. Tess Moines Post. Oops. There we go. See, Tess says, this is awful. Kyoto FFA says someone broke into their barn and killed 5 show goats that have been mindfully cared for and raised. FFA and FFA students. An emotionally and financial blow for them. The QR code allows you to donate to the program to help them replace the animals. Dang, that's messed up. In the early morning hours of October 2nd, somebody broke into the Kyoto FFA school farm and unalived 5 show goats. I wonder what the crime scene looked like. I wonder if it looked like some kind of a ritual or, 5 show goats that had been bought and cared for by Kyoto 4-H and FFA members. Because if you think about it, it could be some psychopath within their friend group. Let's say you're one of the people who have been caring for them, caring for these animals, and for whatever reason, this person feels betrayed by them, may retaliate by destroying that which they love. You know what I mean? Like, you made me do this. You pushed me to this. Or it could be ritualistic. I know goats are often targeted. I believe this is the Seminole County. This is how it popped. What is the name of the other one? Not sure. Yeah, that's crazy. I would love to get my eyes on the crime scene and figure out who did that shit. I feel like that would be an easy one to solve. I was just surfing and could find anything but 2 articles. Yeah, those poor children will have trauma for a long time. Well, they're going to get an F too. What's up, Sparky? It's like losing your thesis. I read where a lady was at her doctor's tell her, make sure you put your black cat. All right, let's see what else we got here. Have you guys heard about this one? I'm sure you have. It's pretty high profile. Plus, he looks like a creep. Arrest made in connection with Palisades fire in California, which killed 12. Little firebug over here. The wildfire claimed the lives of 12 people and burned over 23,000 acres in Los Angeles County. Damn. Jeez. He looks like a freak. Jonathan Rinderknecht, 29, was arrested on a criminal complaint charging him with maliciously starting what became the fire. An arrest has been made in connection with the California Palisades fire, which killed 12 people and destroyed thousands of homes and hundreds of businesses in Los Angeles County earlier this year. Jonathan Rinderknecht, 29, was arrested on a criminal complaint charging him with maliciously starting what became the Palisades fire in January. Acting U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley announced on X Wednesday, October 8th, yesterday, the complaint alleges that Rinderknecht started a fire in the Pacific Palisades neighborhood on New Year's Day, which eventually turned into one of the most destructive fires in LA's history, causing death and widespread destruction. Why did he do it? Why the hell would he do that? Was it fireworks? Among the evidence that was collected from his digital devices was an image he generated on ChatGPT depicting a burning city. Yikes. Yeah, what a psycho. Yep. He sat back like a pure psycho saying, look what I did. Look at my creation. I was going to be somebody and they didn't believe me. Look at me now. Today we are announcing the arrest of 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht, Ring Your Neck, on a criminal complaint charging him with maliciously starting what became the Palisades fire. Look at the artwork. Holy shnikey. Oh, yeah, this dude's crazy. Jeez. He was probably glued to the TV. I wonder what he was putting in here to generate this image. It's like divided down the middle with people. It almost looks like the poor are looking at the rich that are suffering or something. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. It's like you have one group that's looking down on the other group. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. Yeah, so that's wild. So Ring Your Neck is from Melbourne, Florida, was expected to appear in court on Wednesday, 1:30 p.m. in Orlando. It's unclear if he has entered a plea or retained an attorney to speak on his behalf. According to a federal complaint obtained by People, investigators determined that the Palisades fire was a holdover fire, meaning it was a continuation of a fire known as the Lockman fire that began on January 1st, 2025. Although firefighters quickly suppressed the Lockman fire, unbeknownst to anyone, the fire continued to smolder and burn underground within the root structure of dense vegetation, the complaint states. A week later, on January 7th, heavy winds caused Sorry, I had to sneeze. Where were we? The blaze went on to claim the lives of 12 people and burn 23,000 acres. Damn, that's crazy. Imagine right now the home that you're sitting in is just being surrounded by fire. And some asshole, this dipshit right here, is the one responsible. Doesn't that just make you extremely angry? Now, how do you become this guy? How do you become dipshit number one? Can it happen to any one of us if we're not careful? Can we be dipshitified if we're not careful? How do you become that dipshit? Where you're destroying people's lives. I feel like not everybody intends to do that. How do you get there? Are you crazy from birth? Is there childhood trauma that makes you prone to wickedness, right? No connection with God, therefore I'm connected to everything the opposite of. What's up, Dark Side? Exactly, Sparky Nutcase, for sure. Cali has gone to hell. Yeah, I don't go to California. No interest to go to California. No interest to go to New York or Chicago. But I would definitely go to Chicago and New York before I ever went to California. But did you die? Newsom, yeah, he's awful. I don't know how these people keep voting these fucking weirdos in. It's because they're weirdos. As much as we look at him and we're like, damn, there's a psychopath. There's a whole lot of psychopaths out there that are going, yeah, that's my psychopath. He gets me. So why Rex Heuermann became pen pals with the Happy Face murderer. Melissa, Delphi was solved. Do you think Evansdale will ever be solved? Yeah. I mean, they're working on it right now. They're working hard on it as we speak. They're pulling that DNA. And I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful they'll find something. I think the path of least resistance is finding Clunder's DNA, having that be the result. Because then that can just close the book on what a lot of people kind of figured is going on. But I just hate tunnel vision. Tunnel vision is the worst thing that you can get when it comes to an unsolved case, whether it's a missing persons case or a murder case. That's how innocent people end up in prison. That's how cases go unsolved. It's tunnel vision. If you don't have enough to put somebody through trial, then you shouldn't have enough to convince yourself one way or the other, right? That's just confirmation bias and a logical fallacy. Yeah, the devil. It's a simple answer. It is a simple answer. It's a spiritual battle. I don't live far from Chicago. I have to go there on Tuesday. I'll let you know what I see. I mean, overall, I'm sure Chicago is a wonderful place. It's just hard for me to these Democrat run places. Like, I mean, it's night and day. Like, for instance, we like to travel to Idaho, but in order to get to where we're going in Idaho, we have to fly into Washington. So we fly into Washington, travel a short distance across the border into Idaho, and the people are just different. And I'm talking from a 50-mile drive. You can walk into the stores. People are rude in Washington. Could be anecdotal, right? I can concede to that. But that's been my experience multiple times. In Washington, people are rude. They're judgmental. during the whole scamdemic, they were the ones that were forcing us to do certain things. Like, you can't shop here, you can't do this unless you do that. Across the border, everybody's happy. Yeah, marijuana's not legal. It's a much more old-fashioned conservative voter base. But those people are friendly. Those people are nice. Those people still have hope, right? They still have faith in God and a strong belief in the nuclear family, which is where you find hope for your future. That's where you find happiness. Running around like a radical lefty, there's no happiness there. That's just a byproduct of no connection to God. And honestly, it's just people wearing their childhood trauma on their sleeve and being taken advantage of by a political party. That's what I see. And I'm sure there's a lot that can be said about the whole right side, right? They have their own issues as well. That's why you should be somewhere in the middle. Because if you're radical, that just means somebody's exploiting you in one way or the other. Melissa, I live in New York, but upstate New York, not as bad as Chicago or California. Dark side. Yeah, the DNA, I think at least someday they'll be able to get something, in my opinion. Yeah, the technology seems to be improving every year. So at some point, it's got to give us a result. Thanks, Sparky. Yeah, if you guys want any merch, just email me. I don't have anything right now at the shop. Just shoot me an email and I'll give you some prices. I have a box of old hoodies. We're waiting on the new merch right now. But if you want the Sleuth Crew or everywhere hoodies, I have some of those in black and gray. Just shoot me an email and I'll tell you how to get them. I'll probably just blow them out. Sparky, the south side of Chicago is where ICE rated apartments, where it's predominantly black and Tren de Aragua. See, that's what people don't understand. When we have all these illegals coming into our country, that's who they affect first, is the black Americans and the Mexican Americans, the people who are struggling. And that's just the fact. And poor whites. So poor whites, poor blacks, and poor browns. So when you have a bunch of illegals flooding, and I don't care where they're from, South America, Africa, the Middle East, it doesn't matter where they come from, they'll end up right there with the struggling people, the struggling Americans. And that's the reason nobody really cares, right? Because they're not there. They're not down there. They didn't grow up there. They didn't live there. They're not used to it. They don't know anything about that. It might as well be the bottom of the ocean for them. They don't get it. Because when we're flooded in with illegals, nobody's illegal, Sleuth. Yeah, it's a crime. If you didn't come in the right way, you're an illegal immigrant. But they come right there into the neighborhoods, into the places where we're struggling the most, taking their opportunities. So it's hard to blame these businessmen who are like, oh, well, I'll pick the illegal immigrant who I can pay less, right? Like, do you blame them? Or do you blame the government for allowing them to even be there to begin with? Because places like Mexico and, Mexico is a rich country. Like, there's no reason to be fleeing Mexico at all. There's absolutely no reason. But there are people fleeing from South America and all over the place. Haiti. They're coming from even China. So if you can take care of our homeless situation and take care of our veterans, I wouldn't have such a problem with it. If we didn't have such a big drug problem and all this sex trafficking and all this violence, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But those things need to be fixed first, in my opinion. especially the veterans. I mean, you're going to tell me we're going to just police the entire world, and then when you send our officers back home, you just treat them like shit? Oh, don't worry, there's plenty of drugs for you when you get back. Well, what about when I lose my job? I can't keep a job and I lose my home and I have PTSD and my family's afraid of me. What do I do then? Well, you can go be homeless. Go to California and you can live in a nice big tent on the boulevard there. Trust me, you'll like it. There's a whole bunch of you vets down there. It'll be all your friends. It'll be like boot camp all over again. That's not right. V says my city is about half Hispanic, generally hardworking, good people, usually very religious too. And people need to understand Hispanic has nothing to do with illegal immigrants. That's like kind of like the manipulation. They try to get the support of the Hispanic community. But here in Arizona, we understand what illegal immigration does. We know how harmful it is. We know all too well about the Mexican cartel. We know about people being victimized. Because, first of all, Mexico is a great country. The only reason you're coming to America is because you're desperate. You're probably fleeing the authority. Just like here in America, when you commit a horrible crime, oftentimes you'll flee to Mexico or you'll flee to Canada. Well, the people who are committing crimes in Canada and Mexico or South America, that's what they're doing. They're fleeing into the United States. They are wanted criminals, the majority of them. But because you're so emotional and you're so easily manipulated, people can just kind of control you. Make you think it's some kind of weird racism, when really it's just common sense, right? You ask them, well, would you open your door to strangers? Well, no. Well, why not? Because I don't know them. Well, yeah, same goes for our country. Then you have some that say, yes, I will. And then they do, and then they get killed. China sends to Mexico, them into the hugest hub. Well, that's what's going on right now. You have China sending fentanyl into Venezuela, and then from Venezuela, it's coming in through Florida and through Mexico. At least they want to make us believe that, right? But they probably really just want that oil that's in Venezuela. We'll make it look like a drug war. Yeah, if you guys like the channel, would like to support me, hit the Cash App. If you can't hit the Cash App or the Zelle, hit the like button. All right, let's go to one or two more. Here, let's hit something political here. This is from The Guardian. Let's see. What the hell is this? Actually, we'll put this up on the screen and then I'll read it. So this is Gaza right now. And according to this here, it says a whisper in the first phase of the Gaza ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas has been announced, with U.S. President Trump playing the prominent role in negotiations. What is there to negotiate? There's nothing left. There's like one or two buildings left standing in the background here. What is there to negotiate? Trump's like, yeah, I negotiated a peace deal. Yeah, after Israel completely destroyed their enemy and everybody else that happened to be over there. This shit is crazy to me. Sparky flexing that muscle. Look at that. You're taking steroids, I think. It says, woohoo, proud member of the Sleuth crew. Keep doing great things, Sleuth. Thank you. I appreciate your support. Look, I support Israel. I don't support their government. This reminds me a lot of what happened during the Iraq War, right? Weapons of mass destruction, weapons of mass destruction. That's all we heard. Went in there and we killed like 1 million Iraqis. Let me see if I got that right. Okay, Iraqi body count. It says between 186 to 210 civilians. Now, including war-related disease infrastructure collapse, 405,000. Now, these are all different estimates, right? According to Johns Hopkins and Lancet 2006, 601,000 in excess deaths through 2006. So overall, up to 650,000 may have died when indirect causes. It's fucking crazy. Look, I support Israel. I'm not a Bible thumping, church going Christian. I don't think you need the Bible to have a connection to Jesus Christ. But I recommend it if it's something that you can't develop without it. And that's just something that we've learned. We must protect Israel, but not the government of Israel. Because it's just like the government of the United States during the Iraq War. George Bush, W., you don't think it's just a coincidence that when his father was president, he invaded Iraq as well? I mean, this is Megadeth. This is satanic rituals in plain sight. So you can support Israel without supporting their current government, which is basically committing a genocide. I mean, obviously, right? But the truth is, how do you defeat your enemy? If you want to defeat your enemy, you have to totally obliterate them. Is that what we're still doing today? We're obliterating our enemies on TV while the world watches, and nobody can do anything because the country that we are in is doing the same thing. We're doing the same shit. So really, it's like it's probably us who wants this to happen. We're using Israel to do it, and we're able to make them look like the bad guy. They're like our hitmen that we sent out to the Middle East. That's why we need them so much, because it's like they are us. But what do we know, right? We're just so emotional, we don't understand how necessary war is, right? This destruction is necessary. Maybe it is. Shit, I don't know. It looks awful. Thinking about all of the innocent life that's been lost through there. It looks lazy. It looks wicked. It looks evil. It almost appears like, and a lot of the belief, including like Hitler, a lot of these people believed if they could create such destruction, they would bring on the return of Christ. And Netanyahu's definitely somebody that believes in that, you know, with the sacrifice of the red heifer, and all of that, all of these religious sites, Dome of the Mount. So I feel like they just want to kill everybody. We'll kill everybody. We'll destroy everything. We'll be so evil that Christ will have to come back to earth, or the Jewish people will have to return for the first time. But the Christians, we know what's up. But yeah, good job, Trump. Good job with the peace deal. I made peace with the rubble, guys. The pile of rubble has promised not to attack. It promises to be peaceful. Right? We've made peace with the pile of rubble. Congratulations, Nobel Peace Prize for Donald Trump. He's got the pile of rubble to calm down and stop kidnapping people. So good job, Trump. Good job. Made peace with the cement. Because there's nobody living anywhere near here. There's no people here. Well, I mean, not living anyway. I'm sure there's lots of people just right here in this photograph. But none of them alive. Well, some might be alive, but not for long. Because they're buried in this shit. What's going on, Neil? Yeah, unfortunately, we are the bad guys. We're not the bad guys. Right? There's this evil, like, group of powerful people. You can call it the Illuminati. You can call it whatever you want. It's just people with mutual interests, a lot of money, a lot of power, and a lot of negotiating. They need each other. We're talking about the brilliant minds. And some of these brilliant minds from the past that spawned generational wealth, right? They just inherit the power. You got powerful politicians. Those are the people that are controlling everything. If they keep us divided, right? Wacko left, wacko right, indecisive center, then they'll never come together. They'll never come together. They'll never find God. They'll never find happiness, and they'll always rely on us. They will all, as long as they need us, we'll always be in control. War makes everybody hopeless. 9/11 type events traumatizes the entire world. I feel like that's what television is for, right? Tell, lie, vision. They want you to watch it all. Mass hypnosis. Everybody tune in tonight when we shock and awe 650,000 Iraqi civilians. We're going to blow them all up live on TV. We're going to yank Saddam Hussein out of a rat hole, and then we're going to hang him live on television. Why, though? I don't know. Because we wanted to. You said it had something to do with 9/11 and weapons of mass destruction, but turns out that was just a fucking lie. So you killed 650,000 civilians. You hunted their president, their leader, and then you hung him live on television for absolutely no reason. But fuck Israel, right? Like, when are we, the people, going to get control over these fucking demons? One of these days, hopefully. But that's why we got to have the First Amendment, Second Amendment, all that shit. They fucked up when they put all that in place. This little experiment called the United States of America has definitely backfired. And the moment we relinquish any of that back to them, it's over. Not just for us, you guys, but for the world. We are the last hope. Yeah, and it's right there, Dark Side. They won't let us have that. They don't want to give us hope. Because in a hopeful world and in a peaceful world, we don't need them. We don't need their rockets. We don't need their war expertise. We don't need all that Luciferian knowledge, right? That's there to destroy humanity. We just don't need it. Because it is natural for us, right? It is natural for us to get along and to be happy and to work together. The only time we have problems is mental health. And a lot of that's caused by this bullshit. It's caused by the trauma. And what causes trauma is trauma. It's a vicious cycle. Yeah, I agree, Sparky. All right, guys, that's going to be it. Big shout out to Sparky for supporting the channel, flexing her membership muscle. Thank you for all of that support. It means a lot to me. And if you're new here, you guys, consider becoming a member. Consider hitting the Cash App if you can. If not, hit the like button. Possibly share the video. And I'll see you guys a little bit later tonight. Hopefully I'll have time to visit with you again. I have some things I want to tell you. But everybody else, be safe, be kind, and don't do anything I wouldn't do.